So today I've got something for you that is definitely not my typical content. I'm not normally one to engage in drama, but the fact is that in life there are going to be times where people do things that are going to challenge your morals, and sometimes you just can't stay silent about it. And if you feel the same way, then be sure to like the video and subscribe for more YouTube drama content. Anyway, you may or may not have heard of a YouTuber who goes by the name of Noah TG. He's got almost 3,000 subscribers and primarily makes source filmmaker animations with the occasional gaming clip here and there. I've been following him for a little while now, and while I've never really been a fan of his content, I always thought that, at least at a surface level, he appeared to be a pretty genuine guy who built a small but respectable community. And with that in mind, I did what any regular person on the internet would do with somebody like this. I started doing some digging to see if he had any skeletons in his closet. And not only was I absolutely shocked by what I found, but even more shocking is how much of this was sort of just swept under the rug in plain view of everybody. Not to mention how he then proceeded to pull the rug out from beneath his community's feet. Because apparently back in 2024, Noah decided to dip his toes into the cryptocurrency space, and even the NFT space, if you can believe it. A little late to that last party, I think, but the project, titled Gibbycoin, was promoted with the promise of making money through integrations with Valve's Team Fortress 2. Just the very concept of this token should be raising red flags, but his community seemed to be pretty on board with it. Now, apparently the NFTs were actually a pretty big selling point because they would basically drop randomly like actual TF2 items. But even these were met with controversy because from what I could find, most of the artworks for these NFTs were actually supplied by his own fans, and they weren't really even compensated for it. Supposedly they received some undisclosed amount of Gibbycoin, which, hey, might have sounded great to some of the artists in Noah's community who really believed in the project, but all hope of making any sort of fortune on the project was completely destroyed when Gibbycoin launched exactly 2 years ago today, and the token, as well as all associated NFTs, immediately plummeted in value. Now, this is something we've all seen time and time again. Internet personalities using their fame and status to promote sketchy crypto projects to make a quick buck.
You gotta give him that huck!
But usually in those cases, you see some sort of backlash or dissent from people within their community who feel betrayed. But in Noah's case, his followers seem to kind of just shrug it off. There was no public outcry, no mass exodus of his supporters, not even any sort of acknowledgement from Noah himself about it that I could find. It's almost like everybody sort of just forgot.
He must have forgot.
Well, almost everybody, that is. Because while I was digging through Noah's Discord community, Gibbous Gang, I actually managed to track down and talk with one of Gibbycoin's founding supporters, who requested to remain anonymous for this video. This person was one of the project's biggest independent financial backers, and their blind trust in Noah's promises of quick returns through Gibbycoin may have also turned them into one of its worst victims.
I never really knew much about this crypto sort of thing I see everywhere. Besides, those stupid apes everyone was talking about at one point. But then this, silly little spy guy told me about me getting money with my TF2 kills. And, I thought, why not? Might as well invest in it. That means more money for me to gamble. Unfortunately, and quite frankly, it was the biggest piece of bull I have ever seen. I had to sell out my private mansion based in some guy's just to pay off most of the debt. I'm living in a gas nest made of plastic straws right now. I'm basically only here because I made it my mission to keep my bird business on this spy's car.
One would think that orchestrating a rug pull on your community and leaving your loyal fans to suffer the financial consequences is terrible enough on its own. But as I read further back through Noah's server, I realized there was something a lot darker going on behind the scenes. At first I couldn't quite piece it together. Most of it just seemed to be random nonsense about apples. So I went to ask the server for clarification. But when I tried to mention that it seemed like some sort of major incident involving an apple had occurred, my message was immediately deleted. And just a few seconds later, I was also banned from the server. Originally, I thought Discord's automod might have just made a mistake. I mean, surely there's nothing offensive about apples, right? But then just a few minutes later, I got a message from somebody who I recognized from messages in Noah's server. After telling him that I was making this video, he asked if we could jump in a voice call so he could explain something to me called the apple incident. And the conversation that followed was one of the most haunting Discord calls I've ever been part of.
I was a huge fan of Noah TG. Well, at least before the incident. I should have known something was amiss that community night. God, I should have known. I should have known when he suggested Roblox. I can't look at an apple the same way. I can't.
Due to the disturbing nature of the events of the Apple incident, I can't really show much else of this interview or go into much more detail on YouTube. All I can really say on the matter here is there exists a level of evil within Gibbous Gang that I used to think was too extreme to actually be real. Far worse than some run-of-the-mill crypto pump and dump scheme. And I think the scariest part of all this is how Noah, in spite of all of this, has gone largely untouched by any sort of controversy, all while maintaining this facade of being some mild-mannered part-time YouTuber. But if you'd like to know more, I've compiled a Google Doc of my sources for this video, which you can find in the description. But just bear in mind, some sources are best left unchecked, if you know what I mean. I hope that if nothing else, this video can at least serve to tell a story that Noah's own community has been too horrified to tell. I can't imagine that somebody could ever believe a story like this is real without experiencing it for themselves, especially not on a day like today. If you're still here, thank you for hearing me out until the end. I know it's been a while, and I'm sorry that my first video of 2026 was something so serious, but I hope you'll at least stick around for some more positive content in the future. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also be sure to join my Discord server, which is way cooler and nicer than Noah's could ever be. I don't remember what it's called, but I usually link it in the comments, I think. Anyway, I just got home from my vacation in Fort, New Mexico the day of recording this, and I've been feeling kind of funny ever since I drank the water, so I'm gonna get some rest. I am somebody, probably, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.